Alright, so we finished everything else, and in this lesson we're going to make the skirt. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up the final object that we have. Okay, so we just want to build the skirt. So I won't do the skirt in this particular file, because here everything changes on a per frame basis. So what I want to do is I want to calculate the skirt and then just make it, freeze it at a particular frame. Like that's effectively what I want to do. So I'm going to hide this, and we'll start off with a brand new file, a brand new folder. Let's call it skirt, and I'm going to just bring in the geometry. Sorry, file node, and we will bring in elf high. Let's bring in the high res geometry. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of the arms. So just do a blast, and we'll get rid of the arms and the fingernails. Okay, so what I want to do is we want to create, instead of creating like a circle and then, or creating like a tube, like one of the simple ways to make a skirt would be to make a tube, right? You can make a tube and just sort of like, increase the radius here. Yeah, like lower that, get the height to be 0, change this to polygon, and just make a skirt like this. The problem with this that I realized was it's very difficult to UV map it later on, right? Because this is a disk. So how do you UV map it? So you try to make a skirt the way a skirt actually is, which is usually it's a rectangular piece, and you just sort of wrap it around. So we'll essentially do that. Now, the thing with vellum also is that vellum works better with triangular pieces, okay, or with triangulated geometry. So if you press tab, you'll get something called as a planar patch, okay, and that's what we want to use. So it's pretty small, and keep it to rectangle and keep it to ZX plane, and it's pretty dense at the moment. So I'm just going to take the edge length and get it really high. And what I want to do is we want it, in the corner over here like this. So it sort of opens up that way. Okay, so I'm going to take the size in X, do copy parameter, paste relative reference, divided by 2. And then I'm going to take this, do copy parameter, paste relative reference, divided by 2. And then just take this and pull it out. So let's go to about, let's try about 35 by say 10. So it's a pretty long piece, it's about like that big. Okay, so the second thing we want to do is we want to bend this. So press tab and take a bend, and we'll keep the capture direction in the x-axis and the bend direction or the up vector in the z-axis. And then the capture length, we'll keep it to 35. So right click, copy parameter, and then come into capture length and paste relative reference. And if we bend it, see, we're bending this properly, and just make it minus, let's not do 360, we'll do about 350. So I can see a gap in the middle. There you go. Or 55. 55 should be good. So this is fine, but now we just need to sort of make a few minor adjustments, which is I want to take the bend and kind of move it a little bit like that. Yeah, and then take a transform and just, move it to the center of my object. And then take another transform and we'll move it up. I just go to the camera view and lock this. Okay, and where's my geometry? So come up here and just move it to waist height. Yeah, this is good. So essentially what this allows is the geometry is triangulated from the beginning, but if we do something like this over here, like if I come up here and I give it a UV map. So if I say UV project, okay, it's very easy to UV map this. Now, once you've done that much, okay, we also want to rotate it. So just take this and rotate it 180. So the seam is at the back. So yeah, that's good enough. And if we want, like if I do a So another thing you want to do is like now it's like the triangles keep getting bigger and bigger, which is not really what I want. So let's do one thing. Let's do a remesh. Okay, so we'll do a remesh here. Yeah, so what happens is it gives you a much more sort of cleaner mesh, and you can just adjust it based on how much you want. If you do this with a quadrilateral mesh, it doesn't come off as clean, okay, which is why doing it through the planar patch is better. Or what we can do is we can try to like start to lower this and see if that works better. Yeah, so the problem that happens with this is you get more density here and less density there. Okay, but if you do a remesh, the density is sort of more uniform. Okay, so that's why the remesh is better. Okay, so let's just do this. And then what I want to do is I want to select these points in the middle and pin them. Or actually we want to stitch it to the geometry. So I'm going to take a group, and we'll do a group by points. We'll call it pin, and we'll do group by bounding box, a sphere, like make it big, about that big, and we can just move it. Okay, so the one thing we can do is instead of having to move the group up, we can get the transform in the end. Okay, like get the remesh happening at ground level and then transform it. So what should happen is that the group will remain at ground level, which is easier. Okay, and then we can also take this transform and hold on, let's just take the group, we'll keep it to points. Yeah, and just make it big enough. And then I can just make this big enough till it selects this. Yeah, okay, so this is everything that we want. And now what I can also do is on my geometry, I'm going to just select like a place here. Okay, so I'm just going to press 4, and we'll go into the brush mode. And then I can just try to, yeah, actually, no, that's not the brush mode. I think that's something else. Yeah, that's the brush mode. Okay, so I can just take this and, just select that. Okay, hold on a second. What is it selecting? Area select visible geometry only. I think that will be good. Yeah, selections in Houdini are fun. Okay, and then we can keep shift pressed and then bring it down. Okay, and then just press tab and take a group, and we'll call this attach. So this is not procedural at all. This is just we're randomly doing something. If you want, what you can do is we can draw a curve and then give it some thickness and use that. Right now it doesn't matter. Okay, so if this is here, this is good enough. Okay, so what I want to do now is just to take this up a little bit, and yeah, so let's keep this on this side, and we're going to do a cloth. So we have a vellum configure cloth, and this will be like the collision geometry, and then I want to do vellum attached to geometry. Okay, so all three come in. And what I want to do is the group type is points, and we want to group pin. So see, so you have this, and the target group is attach. Okay, so it's attaching there. And what you also want to do is you want to take the rest length to 0, because what happens otherwise is that it's pinned to this place. What we want is we wanted to pin to the actual polygon. So if you keep rest length to 0, it will pull everything closer. So that is effectively what we want. And then I can just take a vellum solver. So just type in solver, and we'll take a vellum solver. I'm keeping the back open because it didn't really matter. You can try to stitch it. So as I said, this is not really a vellum class, but I'm just doing it for fun. Okay, so I can just drag and drop all three here. Let's just press play. I'll save this in case something wrong happens and it decides to crash or whatever. But let's just press play and see what we get. See, there you go. So the whole thing sort of attaches. Okay, if you're getting this as a problem, this is again a display issue, which it has problems with. So what you need to do is you just need to come back to your geometry and just increase or decrease the mesh. So if you make a slight change to the mesh, that problem goes away. Okay, like if I come in here, and press play now, see. So if it's showing you a ghosted mesh, you just need to, recalculate it once more. But yeah, there you go. So what happens, as I said, is if we don't keep this to 0, if let's say I keep it to 1, then it doesn't pull in as much. See, it just drops there, which is not really what we want. We want the geometry to, see, it's kind of just floats over there. It doesn't really give you the result that you want. So you want to keep it to 0. So it sort of just pulls everything together. Yeah, so this is good. And then what I can do is I can just, this is too short actually. But yeah, right now it's fine. And then I can just we can take a post process. So you'll get something called as a vellum post process. Yeah, which will allow you to sort of smoothen it out, and also, like you can blur it a little bit if you want. And we can also, we'll do a loop because it's a triangular geometry to 2, so that you get, something like that. And then what you can do is just take a time shift and we will lock it to frame 85. So I'll just delete this. So frame 85 is what will be stored. So what will happen is the next time you open the file, it will calculate the entire cache in the background, and then it will just come to the time shift and save the frame that you have specified. So if I go back to frame 1, see, so now it's already stored and it's fine. So if I come back up and switch on the body, we should have, our basic, yeah, see. So if I look at this, there you go. You have your, basic thing with a skirt. And yeah, maybe we can give it a color. So as I said, like the nice thing about the UV mapping is, hopefully because we've given it a UV map, if I try to do a quick shade, or let's do a quick shade in the end, like, let's do a quick shade here, see if it works. It should have. The UV is still there. Okay, let's try it here. If we do it here, we'll have to recalculate because this will go away. Oh yeah, sorry, this thing wasn't on. Yeah, see, so the nice thing about this is you get UVs, which you wouldn't get otherwise. Okay, I think, yeah, we'll have to recalculate everything now. So if you look at UV, see, you have UVs. Yeah, so let's get rid of that. We can just give it some color or something, so I can just come in here. Let's try to go to color, or yeah, let's give it a simple color. So I can just take a color here and let's make it red because everything is red anyway. So, but yeah, there you go. Okay. So this is pretty much the entire thing. Yeah, so there you go. So this is the entire training overall. How to make or how to use procedural modeling to build like an armor and a secondary skin on top of an existing character. And then also, how to bake out the details. For the armor and stuff, as I said, the idea would be to do like some kind of remeshing. Okay, now you can't do, there's no auto remeshing available in Houdini. So the simplest option is you go to something like ZBrush and do auto remeshing, and then you UV it, and then you bake the details from the high res mesh to the low res mesh. But yeah, so that's a longer process. But you can do all of those things because it's just, that's like a slightly separate technical topic. But I wanted to show some amount of baking, or like just at a basic level, so the idea comes across. Like what would you need to do in order to put this, onto a usable model? Because I don't think this is usable, right? Like The geometry count is too heavy. It's kind of broken up in a whole bunch of places. This is not really production ready, but it's a good, as I said, it's a very good prototype generator. And if you want to get, 4 or 5 or 10 different, armor designs or whatever fairly quickly, which all sort of look like they're in the same family, not something like which is completely randomly different to each other. But like if you just want to do like a bunch of soldiers and they all have like slightly different armor, then this is a perfectly, usable way to go about doing that. Yeah, so that's essentially it. So this is, how to do procedural modeling, like fully procedural modeling in Houdini. I had done an older training which was called hard surface modeling in Houdini. That wasn't very procedural. Like that was just straight up modeling in Houdini, which at the end of the day was useful, but it didn't really show you, where Houdini would actually be, because you could always do that in, Modo or Max or Maya or whatever. Something like this would be almost impossible to do in any other software. So this is where, Houdini really shines, where you kind of go, okay, this is like a good proper usage of Houdini. If you make something interesting, you can put it up on Instagram or Twitter and let me know. I'd like to see what exactly you did. And if you have any questions regarding this training or any other training, do let me know. You can contact me via email or Twitter or Instagram, whatever. I'm not on Facebook, but yeah, anything else is perfectly fine. Yeah, so once again, this is procedural modeling in Houdini. I hope this was useful, and that's basically it.